The Huskies opened up their regular season of play last weekend when they faced St. Thomas. They're back again this weekend as they take on Minnesota State. Welcome to Rinkside with Mick Hatton. I'm Anna Bating, and Mick, we have a lot to unravel here. St. Thomas, they're a whole new team. They came out hungry right out of the gate last weekend. They took game one 5-4 in overtime. The Huskies came back in game two, 1-zip final. What was working for the Huskies game, and what wasn't?
Well, I mean, the first night, the power play was working. They were 4 for 6 on the power play, which was a great sign. And I thought they had a lot of scoring opportunities when they were on the power play on Saturday night, and that was a really good sign. One of the things that hurt them was they spent way too much time in the penalty box. I mean, they ended up having almost a period's worth of penalties, and when you do that, you lose energy. I mean, because you have to expend an awful lot of energy when you're killing penalties. So that was the downside of a little bit of that game. They didn't bury a few chances. I mean, they had a lot of opportunities, I thought, on Saturday. They hit a couple of posts. I mean, St. Thomas stuck in there. They battled back. They were down in that game. And found a way to come back and pick up a win. The positives for St. Cloud State, they got, everybody, basically all but a couple of guys got into the lineup in the series. So they got people that were playing that were younger, maybe in some different roles, got them into tight situations, got them to play in some pressure. That was good. They found a way to win on Sunday.
And touching more on senior netminder Dominic Bassi, as you said, he improved significantly in game two. He had 35 saves. He recorded his first shutout of the season and his 5th career shutout. What do you like about his game in between the pipes?
Well, Brett Larson talked about, on the second night that sometimes, with goaltenders, that if they don't see a lot of shots early on in a game, that they have a hard time getting into a rhythm. And if you remember in the game on Saturday, St. Cloud State was played most of the first 5 minutes in St. Thomas's zone. All of a sudden the puck came down into St. Cloud State zone, and they got a good scoring opportunity, and they scored on it. But there were a couple goals there that he probably doesn't give up if he's on top of his game. And on Sunday, to his credit, he bounced back and was terrific and was their best player.
Can we talk about freshman forward Barrett Hall? First couple games as a Husky and his first goal in Cardinal and Black.
Yeah, I mean, he's a guy that they're very high on, and you can see why. I think he's got really good speed. He's got good balance. He's got a good stick, and he's got, most importantly, I mean, I think he's a very smart hockey player. You saw that on the goal that he scored. I mean, he was in the right place at the right time, got his stick down, was able to deflect a shot. They have question marks at center, and he's smart enough and strong enough that he could play that position. Jump onto the top power play unit and kill penalties right out of the gate if there isn't something that you've got going on, and he's playing on arguably their top line right now. So there's a lot to be excited about with Barrett Hall.
And as for the other newcomers on the Huskies roster this year, what do you notice about them? How are they looking, and how are they kind of finding their footing early on?
I thought Werner Miettinen had a really good series, for St. Cloud State. The question marks at center, he was not a question mark. I thought he was really sound at both ends of the ice. Really smart player, makes good decisions out there. I mean, they have, again, like Barrett Hall, they've got him killing penalties and on the power play. So, I mean, they clearly like a lot of what they're seeing out of him. Another guy that, played a ton over the weekend and I thought was really good on Sunday was Nick Ports, who's a transfer from North Dakota. They've got him playing on the power play and on the penalty kill. He was a guy that just, he ran into a situation up at North Dakota where he didn't get time on the power play, didn't get time on the penalty kill. He's an undrafted player, and a lot of times up there, you're going to get buried. And here he's getting an opportunity and seems to be fitting in really well with the team. And those three guys, I think, were the ones that jumped out at me the most out of the newcomers.
And lots of minutes in the box for St. Cloud State. What do you think is going to be key to limiting that time in the sin bin?
Yeah, well, I mean, on Sunday they only took 3 penalties, but one of them was a major, and that was tough. And on top of that, their one center that they've got back in Mason Saltquist, and so they had to make some adjustments. Now the good news there was that you got to see some different line combinations.
And Minnesota State, they're coming off of a CCHA Mason Cup championship, finished off their season 25-13 and won. There's some losses in their lineups this year. What's different?
Well, what isn't different, to be honest with you? I mean, the coaching staff, Mike Hastings and Todd Connaught, their top assistant, both left for Wisconsin. And, oh, by the way, they took a good chunk of their top returning players with them to Wisconsin with how the transfer portal is. So they've got a really different look to them. And there's obviously they're trying to find themselves. I mean, in a lot of ways. I mean, the coaching staff trying to get to know, who these guys are, what everybody's kind of capabilities are, and on top of that, they're going to be searching for some scoring because they lost an awful lot between graduation, signings, and guys in the transfer portal. But another thing that is going to be interesting here this weekend is Keenan Rancier, their goalie, who had a terrific season last season, is going to be out this weekend. So that means two guys that haven't played a lot, Andrew Miller and Alex Tracy, are going to probably split time this weekend. And from St. Cloud State standpoint, I wouldn't be surprised to see Isaac Posh here this weekend too in one of the games. So the goaltending is going to be interesting this weekend, for both teams.
And while we're talking about all the changes, there are some returners. So who are some players that we got to keep our eyes on?
Lucas Sauter, I guess, is a graduate student who a couple of seasons ago had a really nice season for them. Sam Morton's a guy that got hurt last season, had 25 points for them the season before. So those are two guys, I guess, up front that you're going to probably look for. When you're looking at them defensively, I mean, they've got 4 new defensemen, so there's people moving around there, I think. I'm going to be curious to see how they are from how Minnesota State is from an offensive standpoint. The good news for Minnesota State in that 1-0 loss was they actually outshot Nebraska-Omaha 38-13. The bad news there was that they didn't have a goal and that they were 0 for 5 on the power play. So I think you're going to see like two teams kind of searching a little bit here this weekend to kind of find their identities.
Well, Mick, it's always a pleasure talking to you. Make sure that you tune into the Huskies and Minnesota State this weekend. Games on Friday and Saturday. Friday's game is at 7 o'clock and Saturday's at 6.